Thank you. So I'm reading a paper. So severe mental illness is often thought of as a condition that diminishes flourishing and well-being because of the way it impedes mental, psychological, and social processes, and can make it difficult for a person to function in life domains such as social interactions, social relationships, work, education, self-care, hygiene, and tasks of daily living. However, while mental illness does hinder functioning in some areas, depending on the specific symptoms a person experiences, it can leave other areas intact or even allow greater flourishing. Just as Javi Carrel points out that a person can have health within illness and happiness within illness, a person can also have well-being within mental illness, as memoirs of people with psychotic illness show. Their participation in meaning-making activities demonstrates some of the ways they can experience well-being even in the midst of severe mental illness. In a subjectively axiotic approach to well-being, after the ancient Greek word for value, which is axia, it is important to examine what people value and find meaning in order to develop policies, and in the case of mental health, treatment approaches that account for their well-being. The valuation involved with well-being can involve either looking at what people actually value and prioritizing that as part of their well-being, or examining what people should find valuable in an idealized process of valuation. Developing policies that are justifiable to the people they cover, as in the subjectively pragmatic approach my Axiotic theory uses, must take into account what people actually value and find meaningful, so as to be truly and realistically responsive to their needs and interests and not merely hypothetically responsive. To value something is to deem it worthy and important and to think it matters. Valuing something deeply involves caring about it, being invested in it, and being committed to it. Valuing confers normative status on a thing as something that has worth and meaning. When we value an object, an activity, a relationship, an event, or an experience, we often find the thing we value as meaningful in the sense that it has significance, gives us purpose and direction in life, and helps us make sense of our experience. Consequently, many of the activities we participate in order to pursue and realize what we value, can be understood as practices of meaning-making, or activities that we engage in order to generate and instantiate meaningfulness. Taking into account what people actually value and find meaningful requires taking a phenomenological approach to looking at the lived experience of the people whose well-being is under consideration. For the purpose of my paper here, I examined the lived experience of people who have psychotic illnesses by reading memoirs of their experiences to see what they value and what practices of meaning-making they engage in. Psychotic illnesses such as schizophrenia have historically been viewed as negating meaning by causing so much disorganization and disconnection from reality in a person's mind and behavior that it seems like there is no sense to be made of what they think, feel, say, or do. However, people with psychotic illness actually report experiencing meaning and participating in meaning-making activities in many areas of their lives. One area where some people experience meaning is work. For example, Ellen Sachs identifies work as one of the goods important to her well-being. She says that work steadied her and helped constitute how she saw her self-worth. Even her doctors recognized that work helped her heal in her recovery process. For Sachs, this involved participating in both the paid professional work of her law career as well as the scholarly work involved with her educational studies as a law student. Work is both an activity and a means to achievement. As an activity, it can fully engage a person so they're wholly focused on what they're doing and are able to be fully present in the moment while they're engaged in the activity. As a means to achievement, work provides a channel through which a person can set goals for themselves that are meaningful to them, and then work to achieve those goals and gain the satisfaction of achievement when the goals are accomplished. Work thus provides multiple benefits that are conducive to well-being. Philosophers agree that both achievement and the conscious experience involved with participating in engaging activities are important components of well-being. Achievements constitute one of the objective goods that frequently appear on objective list theories of well-being. Achievements are outcomes of activity that result from intentional effort and labor in order to realize some goal a person has set for themselves. They're valued as a component of well-being because they bring a person's activity as an autonomous agent into fruition and make the activity serve some purpose. Some theorists propose that well-being consists primarily of engaging in personal projects through which a person can set, work on, and achieve goals they have for themselves. Other theorists focus on the process of engaging in activity itself, not for the sake of realizing a goal through achievements, but for the sake of participating in the activity for its intrinsic value. Meaningful activities are actions and projects that a person actively engages in because they find them important and worthwhile to pursue and thus value them as part of their well-being. Work is one type of meaningful activity that a person can engage in actively as a source and experience of meaning, significance, purpose, and fulfillment. Participating in meaningful activities provides many benefits to a person. Part of the value of meaningful activity is the way it enables a person to have conscious experience in being mentally active and exercising their cognitive, rational, affective, and volitional powers. It can help a person develop meaning as sense-making in their life. This provides a greater context for understanding and acting, situating their knowledge, beliefs, values, and goals within a larger framework of significance. Participating in meaningful activities enhances subjective states of well-being in providing satisfaction, pleasure, and fulfillment, and it provides motivation to act, laying a foundation for agency and autonomy. Pursuing meaningful activities can also lead to improvement in functioning insofar as a person practices skills, capacities, and virtues through their pursuit of these activities in various domains of their life. In addition, participating in meaningful activity can create for a person what psychologists call a state of flow, which is engaged attention where a person is so engrossed in their activity that they do not notice time passing. All their energy and focus are directed at what they're doing. Meaningful activity provides a source of interest and enables a variety of experience. Meaningful activities also provide structure to a person's day, week, and life as a whole, making their experience more manageable and their activities more focused and directed. Participating in meaningful activities increases self-esteem and can lead to a transformation of oneself and one's situation by enabling resilience in the face of adversity. It can be a place for social interaction, which is another source of meaning. In addition, as stated above, it is a means to achievement of some end that is valued by the person. Moreover, when a person produces something of value to the community, they can gain recognition by others, which can lead to appraisal respect by others. Other meaningful activities besides paid work, professional work, and educational studies that people with psychotic illness identify in their memoirs as valuing include volunteer work, producing art, writing, being an active member of a small community, and political and civic involvement. Richard McLean and John Longman dedicated their lives to making art, while Pamela Spira Wagner developed an interest in writing. Kurt Snyder found fulfillment in professional work as a database manager and in volunteer work with the local fire department. Louise Gillette achieved peace and healing in being an active member of a Jewish community, while Ken Steele found that being politically active in advocating for the rights of people with mental illness to be rewarding. For some people, part of the value of participating in meaningful activities is to help others, for example, in Steele's political work and Sachs's professional work. Although all these individuals I just named had schizophrenia, they found meaningful activities that helped them channel their focus and energy and enabled them to work on projects and goals that they regarded as meaningful and important. A different component of well-being that many people with psychotic illness value is engaging in social interactions and developing and sustaining meaningful social relationships. In reading memoirs about people's experiences with psychotic illness, one is frequently struck by how many of the memoirists write of having deep and rich social relationships that they maintained through their illness, which were often the source of much meaning as well as valuable emotional, moral, and practical support. For example, Mindy Tsai notes that social interaction helped keep her psychosis at bay and improved her general well-being, and she intentionally engaged in various social activities to be around and interact with people. Similarly, Emmett Renson recognizes that he needed socialization to stay sane and not decompensate. Sustaining social relationships is very important to many individuals with psychotic illness. Mindy Tsai, Ellen Sachs, and Kurt Snyder all recount many instances of friends in their social circles providing various kinds of moral, emotional, and practical support that helped them deal with their mental illness experience, aided their recovery, and generally improved their well-being. Relationships with loved ones are also critical. For example, even though Louise Gillette experienced a psychotic episode after the birth of her first baby, she found fulfillment in being a new mother and was highly devoted to her daughter's care. Kay Redfield Jamison described several romantic relationships that gave her much meaning, purpose, pleasure, and satisfaction while dealing with difficulties, including psychosis, with her bipolar disorder. Social interaction contributes to well-being by providing a source of engagement, meaning, and purpose to a person. As memoirs of people with psychotic illness show, social interactions can also ground a person's sense of reality by providing intersubjective agreement about how to understand the world. In addition, social interactions affect a person's identity and agency, as the conceptions that others have of them and how others relate to them help shape their own self-concept as well as their response to others. Another source of well-being for some people with psychotic illness is having certain types of knowledge. Some individuals claim that receiving a diagnosis and label of schizophrenia or bipolar disorder improved their well-being by enabling them to understand their condition better, to connect with others who have similar diagnoses and experiences, and to access medical and psychological treatment that help them in their recovery. At the same time, some individuals reject the label of having a mental disorder such as schizophrenia. They feel like such a label stigmatizes them, connoting negative experiences and awkward ways of relating to others, and destining them to a terrible and undesirable life that may include institutionalization, homelessness, jail, and/or suicide. Knowledge about one's condition, which is a form of self-knowledge, can be a good or a bad depending on the meaning, context, and potential benefits or harms that such knowledge can provide. In the interest of time, how many minutes do I have left? 3? Okay. Okay. Well, objectivist theories argue that self-knowledge is not what is truly important, but objective knowledge about the world is what's truly important. And from an outsider's point of view, having false beliefs about the world, such as those involved with delusions of psychosis, seem to be an objective bad. However, many people with psychotic illnesses experience them as good, as benefits, and they value their delusions and hallucinations, even when they have enough insight and awareness to recognize the falsity of them. They find that their experiences are richer and more meaningful than the shared reality that others experience, and so they value it in a way that other people often can't appreciate. So what matters more than significant knowledge for some people is having certain kinds of conscious experience. Another component of well-being for many individuals with psychotic illness is experiencing ordinary pleasures. For example, Tom Sardi identifies small momentary pleasures as one of the primary goods in life. Although his schizophrenia led him to a difficult life that included homelessness and incarceration, he could appreciate the value that small pleasures bring, such as drinking beverages with friends, having conversations with others, and even riding around in a car. While many well-being theorists identify pleasure as one of the goods of well-being, especially those who advocate for a hedonistic theory of well-being, they often distinguish between higher and lower pleasures, prioritizing the value of higher level pleasures that come from exercising characteristically human faculties such as reasoning and agency, rather than lower level pleasures that involve physical sensations and basic experiences. However, Sardi's value of small pleasures show that these play an important role in the goodness of a life as well. So in conclusion, a subjectively axiotic understanding of well-being helps us understand where people find significant meaning, value, and purpose in their lives. Despite their illness, people who experience psychosis can flourish in certain aspects of their lives where they find meaning, value, and purpose, enabling them to have well-being within mental illness. Interventions that try to help people with psychotic illness live better lives need to listen to the voices of those who have psychosis to understand what they value as contributing to their well-being in order to develop mental health policies and treatment approaches that genuinely improve their well-being and enable recovery.